Finding love after 40, a journey through apps and emotions. After 40, diving into dating apps isn't just opening a profile. It's opening a window to shelved dreams, quiet insecurities, and the stubborn hope of finding real love. Every swipe right carries a mix of anxiety and desire, as if each match were the last chance at something true. It's an arena where life experience weighs in, where past stories shape every choice, and where each conversation can become a bridge to a future, or a drop into the abyss of frustration. There's no room here for easy illusions. Age brings clarity, but it also brings the fear of failing, the fear of repeating patterns, the fear of being unseen. And it's exactly at this crossroads, where expectation meets vulnerability, that the irresistible drama of trying to love again is born. The heart knows what it wants, but is the digital world ready to deliver? You decide to open the app again on a quiet night after an ordinary day, but the click feels symbolic, the restart of a search you swore you'd ended. Your phone buzzes with notifications as the screen lights up the dark room. Your heart races, not because this is new, but because every attempt now carries a weight you can't ignore. You scan photos, read bios, swipe, hesitate. The images look recycled, the lines familiar, the promises hollow. And still, there's that flicker of hope, that sense that someone out there might understand who you are today, scars and victories included. With every profile that appears, you wonder whether you should take the risk or wait a little longer. It's like leafing through a book you already know, hoping to find one paragraph that changes everything. The apps promise convenience, but deliver an emotional maze. You learn to read signs, decode subtext, intuit intentions. You realize you're not just looking for someone, you're trying to prove to yourself that there's still time, still possibility, still a path toward an authentic love. As you swipe, the app offers new suggestions, each photo both an invitation and a test. Your eyes cling to details, a line that sounds honest, a smile that seems sincere, a gaze with a hint of light. But along with that comes the doubt. Is this person real? Do they want something serious? Or are they just another face lost in the digital crowd? The years weigh in when you remember past stories, attempts that went nowhere, conversations that began with spark and ended in silence. The app becomes a mirror of life, countless possibilities, no guarantees. And deep down, it's that very lack of guarantees that ignites the thrill of risk and keeps the game alive. Looking for love after 40 isn't just a choice, it's an act of courage. So there you are, phone in hand, heart split between fear and desire, understanding that every swipe is more than a gesture. It's a quiet vote of hope, an emotional bet on shaky ground. Because despite everything, you still want to believe that somewhere in there, someone is waiting to be found, and that this time, it could be different. The next day, as sunlight fills the room and brightens the memories of the night before, you catch yourself reflecting on what brought you here. It isn't just loneliness. It's a mix of curiosity, a longing for connection, and a deep impulse to prove to yourself that true love still exists. At the same time, you know you're not the person you were 10 or 20 years ago. Your priorities shifted, your patience changed, your sense of value evolved. And it's exactly that baggage that makes each step more delicate, more measured, more intense. You open the app again and notice conversations start differently. Some men arrive with canned lines, others with empty messages, others trying to impress with jokes. None of it surprises you anymore. What grabs your attention now are small signs of authenticity. A sincere text, a personal story, a detail that shows depth. You feel you've learned to read intentions by the way words are chosen. It's an invisible filter, built on experience and frustration, but also on hope. As you read each message, you imagine what it would be like to be face-to-face with those people. And that imagining transports you to a place where fear blends with curiosity. Because deep down, this isn't only about finding someone. It's about letting yourself be found, letting yourself be vulnerable, letting yourself make room for something new. And making room doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. With every notification, your phone becomes more than an object. It becomes an extension of your expectations. It vibrates, and for an instant, your heart vibrates with it. The hope of a different message, of someone who breaks the pattern, who surprises you. Sometimes it comes, sometimes it doesn't. When it doesn't, the app's silence echoes inside you. When it does, you feel a gust of energy, an invitation to imagine new stories. Offline life goes on, but the app becomes a parallel universe where time runs differently. You notice how people talk about themselves, how they choose photos, what they reveal or hide. Each choice gives you clues. You realize that every profile is more than a storefront, it's a code. And once decoded, it can reveal an entire person or just a character assembled to please. As days pass, this routine turns into a thermometer for your emotional state. Some days you're open, curious, ready. Other days you feel a quiet exhaustion, like living in a loop of expectations and frustrations. But even on those days you keep going, because something inside insists it's worth it, that among so many faces, one will recognize yours. And as you stare at the screen, you understand that this search isn't just about finding someone. It's about rediscovering yourself in a new context, about recognizing what you want, what you accept, what you no longer negotiate. Every message read, every profile viewed, every swipe becomes a piece in this quiet reconstruction that's slowly changing how you see love. Days later, you realize your relationship with the apps has shifted from curiosity to an emotional mirror. Each notification reminds you there's a world out there full of possibilities, and warns you that those possibilities aren't simple. You begin to notice patterns, the same kinds of messages, the fast compliments, the over-filtered photos. That repetition makes you think about what you truly want and what you won't accept anymore. At the same time, a sense of disconnect appears between what people show and who they really are. Each profile carries a silent promise of a lifestyle, values, an ideal self that might not exist. You feel you've learned to read those masks faster, like an emotional radar. When you spot incoherence, you close the app without guilt. When something feels different, you get butterflies. It's like panning for gold in a river full of sand. In this phase, you start reflecting on your own patterns. You ask whether you're looking for the right people, whether you're projecting too much, or whether you still carry ghosts from the past. That introspection becomes inevitable, because every conversation, however brief, leaves an imprint. And you realize that deep down, each experience is refining the way you see relationships and the world. You watch yourself as if watching a movie, analyzing your reactions, impulses, and silences. As you keep swiping, you feel something shifting in how you stand your ground. It isn't just fatigue, it's maturity. You're more assertive, more selective, less willing to accept crumbs of attention. This change didn't happen overnight. It was born of attempts, frustrations, small wins, and inner discoveries. It's a quiet process, but powerful. And this new posture starts to show in your replies, in the photos you choose, in how you describe yourself. You rediscover yourself even as you search for the other. In this mix of curiosity, self-discovery, and patience, you sense something important is happening. Even without a perfect date or a concrete story yet, you're building a new gaze on love. More mature, more realistic, but still full of hope. A gaze that prepares you to recognize someone who's also ready. And that realization becomes almost physical. Your body relaxes, your breathing changes, your mind quiets. For the first time in a long while, you feel you're not just looking, you're getting ready. You close the app, breathe deep, and look out the window. The real world is still there, quiet, but full of signs. It's as if every virtual swipe were leading you to a turning point, a point where you'll stop trying to fill a void and be truly ready to make space for a real story. A few days pass, and one ordinary afternoon, a new notification pops up. The name is unfamiliar, but the message catches your attention. It isn't a cheesy line or something lifted from a flirting manual. It's simple, direct, with a touch of vulnerability that cuts through the screen. You read it again and feel a light shiver. For the first time in a long time, something sparks genuine curiosity. You open the profile and see a photo without heavy filters, a sincere look, a short description that says more than many paragraphs. No obvious show-off, no prefab cliches. The simplicity draws you in because it contrasts with the noise of the others. It's like finding a calm voice in a crowded market. You reply with caution, but a contained excitement. The dialogue flows without that interrogation vibe that often haunts first conversations. You talk about interests, daily rhythms, memories from youth. Slowly, you notice this person understands nuances many ignored, respects your silences, and asks questions that don't feel invasive. Every exchange becomes a small event, an unspoken anticipation that follows you through the day. This steady back and forth brings back a forgotten feeling, being truly seen. With each answer, each shared detail, you realize you're revealing parts of your story you usually keep tucked away. It's a gradual opening, almost imperceptible, that makes you feel lighter. There's a rhythm to the messages, not suffocating, not scattered. There's room to breathe, to think, to feel. A rare balance in a universe of hurry and excess. Even so, you keep one foot on the ground. After 40, you know excitement doesn't replace consistency, and real connections prove themselves over time, not in the first few messages. That lesson has become your quiet shield. At the same time, you notice you're no longer reacting with cynicism. You're allowing yourself to feel anticipation, something you thought you'd lost. As the days pass, this dialogue starts blending into your real routine. Your phone's ping isn't just a distraction, it's an invitation. In the morning, before you get up, you read the last message. At night, before you sleep, you revisit the thread. This discreet presence starts taking up space in your imagination, and you catch yourself wondering what it would be like to hear that voice in person, to see that gaze off-screen. You don't know where this is going, but you feel that, for the first time in a while, there's something here worthy of your attention. Not only because of the possibility of romance, but because of what the experience is awakening in you. As if through this new connection, you were discovering a livelier version of yourself. A version that still believes, still risks, still gets moved. Time passes and the conversation becomes a quiet ritual, bookending your days. There's care in how you talk, as if each word were chosen not to break the delicate mood of discovery. The usual early-stage anxiety eases. In its place, a steady curiosity, a desire to know details, stories, habits. Each message becomes a new piece of a larger puzzle, slowly revealing the person behind the screen. Then the talk deepens. You share fears, the dreams you shelved, tough choices from the past. In this more intimate space, a bond starts to form. The kind that isn't built with likes or prepackaged lines, but with vulnerability and presence. You notice this person isn't afraid to show flaws, not trying to sell you a perfect image. That helps you lower your guard too, carefully. But with that closeness comes a dilemma. Experience taught you to be cautious. Behind any profile, there may be a hidden story, a version different from the one on display. Excitement is strong, but prudence is stronger. You feel the inner tug of war between wanting to move forward and wanting to protect yourself. It's not paralyzing, but it's constant, reminding you of times you believed too fast and got hurt. It makes you reread messages, look for coherence between words and actions. Even so, something about this connection feels different. There's consistency, a rhythm that doesn't smother, an interest that doesn't vanish. That steadiness begins to chip away at the walls you built. Before you know it, you're imagining a real-life meeting, rehearsing what it would be like to see that face off the app, to hear that voice live. Every imagined scene becomes an exercise in hope and in emotional preparation. That inner movement surprises you. You find yourself choosing outfits, mentally curating stories, questioning your own fears. It isn't just about meeting someone. It's about finding a part of yourself you'd tucked away. You notice you're dressing up more, paying attention to small details, even to how you present yourself day to day. It's as if the possibility of a meeting were handing back something you didn't know you'd lost. The genuine thrill of starting again. You sense you're entering a new phase. It's no longer just about swiping or replying. It's about preparing, emotionally, for the real possibility of a meeting, a touch, a physical presence. That preparation moves everything, your expectations, your routine, your self-image. Because no matter how much time has passed, the first time you open up again carries the same tension, the same adrenaline, the same hope, and above all, the sense that maybe this time you're ready for something real. The days that follow feel charged with a different energy. Each message has an almost invisible rhythm, as if something were being built patiently, layer by layer. You don't crave instant replies. The blind anxiety that used to consume you fades. There's a new calm, a quiet understanding that solid connections don't happen overnight. That calm works like an antidote to old patterns that once made you rush. Calm doesn't mean indifference. It lets you observe more clearly. You start to notice how this person speaks. The little pauses, the words they choose, the way they show interest without invading your space. And you realize you're getting used to their presence in your life, even if it's still virtual. It's as if this exchange were putting down roots in a fertile ground you didn't know you had. Then comes the inevitable reflection. Are you ready to break the cycle of messages and take the next step? After 40, a first date isn't just an event. It's a watershed. It means putting your body where your heart and mind have already gone. It means giving up the control of the screen to step into reality, where there are no filters and no time to edit responses. That prospect excites and scares you at once. You catch yourself rehearsing how it might go. The first look, the greeting, the tone of voice, the gestures, the energy in the room. You get butterflies just imagining it. At the same time, you review what worked and what didn't before, a quiet shield against inflated expectations. It's a delicate balance, letting yourself feel while keeping your feet on the ground. You notice your stance has changed too. You're not trying to please, you're just being. You don't feel pressured to fill silences with scripted lines or to prove anything to anyone. That newly found freedom changes everything. You're no longer seeking approval, you're choosing where to invest your time and energy. That choice gives you a sense of personal power you hadn't felt in a long time. This phase exposes a more intimate side of your growth. You see you've learned to handle your own vulnerability with more maturity. You don't need to appear perfect or hide your scars. What matters now is transparency and presence. That awareness softens the fear of rejection and strengthens your confidence to begin again as many times as needed. And as you prepare for what comes next, you realize something bigger is unfolding. You're not just building a possibility with someone, you're rebuilding yourself, the way you approach relationships, the way you understand love. That quiet reconstruction makes you stronger, more whole, more clear. And you see it. Maybe the journey matters as much as the destination. For the first time, that thought doesn't sound like consolation. It feels like freedom. You sense a decisive point. Messages aren't enough to hold what's grown between you. The idea of meeting arises, not a blunt question, but a careful suggestion that leaves space for your timing. That gentleness hits home because it shows respect and patience, rare in the world of apps. Your heart races, your mind maps the terrain. The invitation comes when you feel steadier, more self-aware, and that changes everything. In the days that follow, the anticipation reshapes your routine. Every choice gains meaning. You look at outfits, imagine the route, think of neutral places to meet, weigh the ideal time. None of this is just logistics. It's emotional preparation, a way to craft a safe atmosphere for the moment. You want comfort, but you also want it to be special, because you know the symbolic weight it carries. Stepping from virtual to real awakens memories of other first times. The butterflies, the smell of the place, the light in the room. All part of the quiet ritual of a new beginning. But this time, there's a crucial difference. You're not trying to fill a void. You're allowing something new to appear. It's a move that's more conscious, more whole, more aligned with who you are today. That awareness makes each detail more intense. The look you choose, the words you'll use, even the way you practice answers in the mirror. The preparation stirs deeper layers. You see yourself in the mirror differently, like meeting a version of you that had been tucked away. There's positive anticipation, but also a maturity that keeps anxiety in check. The mix doesn't paralyze you. It propels you. It's a quiet strength, as if the part of you that always believed in love were finally resurfacing. At each step, you revisit past decisions, recognize mistakes, and honor lessons. And as you do, the guilt, the fear, the rush lose their grip. You're steadier, ready to welcome whatever comes, whether it's an amazing date or just another attempt. That clarity makes you feel in charge of your own story, not at its mercy. As the details are set, you sense you're about to cross an invisible line. Between promise and reality, imagination and touch, what could be and what will be. The threshold is tense, but also liberating, because now, more than ever, you're clear about what you want, what you won't accept, and what you deserve. And that clarity, more than any expectation, is what makes you feel ready. The day arrives quietly. No soundtrack, no sign in the sky, but everything feels different. From the moment you wake, there's a subtle alertness, like the day itself is tuned to this meeting. You get ready calmly, choosing clothes not to impress, but to feel authentic. It's no longer about masking insecurities. It's about showing who you are now, whole and unfiltered. The perfume, the hair, the small details feel like a ritual of reconnection with yourself. On the way, every step echoes excitement and caution. Street sounds, the scent in the air, store window colors, everything is more vivid. Your mind swings between imagining the first look and staying lucid. You replay conversations and signs that there might be a true connection, while leaving room for the possibility that there won't be. That freedom to accept any outcome is what steadies you. You arrive and see them sitting there. No grand scene, just two people who decided to leave the world of screens and try reality. You notice gestures, voice, smile, posture. Each detail confirms or challenges the image you built. It's a delicate moment where every impression counts. A soft collision between expectation and reality. Not dramatic, just the natural adjustment to the fact that the other is a three-dimensional human with timbre, quirks, and breath. You greet each other with a smile and a light touch, simple but full of meaning. There's no script for these first minutes, just a conversation that builds in real time, without edits or filters. It flows with natural pauses and looks that say more than lines ever could. The atmosphere is unlike any virtual chat. There's texture, scent, energy, an entire dimension the app could never show. It's in that dimension that something inside you relaxes. As minutes pass, the mood turns intimate. Not romantic right away, but human. You're genuinely curious about what the other feels, how they see you, how they react to your words. The fear of judgment gives way to interest. The meeting isn't perfect. No real one is, but there's a natural ease you didn't expect. In that moment, you feel the weight and beauty of being present. It's not just meeting someone after 40. It's allowing yourself the full experience, with all its risks and possibilities. Your heart speeds up as your mind quiets. You are there, whole, living the now. No app distractions, no screen illusions. And for the first time in a long time, simply being there feels like a victory over all the hesitations that once froze you. The meeting grows beyond the first minutes and finds its shape, as if each word opened a new room in an unknown house. The pace is unhurried but rich with small revelations. They're not trying to impress with grand stories, but to listen with genuine attention. It's a small difference that changes everything, turning a simple coffee into a space of quiet intimacy. The way they look at you while you speak, without interrupting, without rush, creates a nearly immediate trust. You're surprised by the lightness you feel. There's no pressure to be perfect, no weight of expectation. The dialogue builds like an exchange between equals. You share memories, defining moments, dreams that were paused, lessons learned the hard way. Similarities appear without effort. So do differences. In this honest space, you see how much you've matured. You're no longer looking for someone to fill gaps, but someone to walk alongside you. With each story, you notice more. Small gestures, contained laughter, a calm way of handling delicate questions. You also see how curious they are about who you are now, not the edited version on the app. Being truly seen, without filters, without masks, reawakens something you thought had gone numb. Time passes and your body relaxes. Your gaze more direct, your posture more open. Trust is born in that instant. Memories of old disappointments don't vanish, but they move to a quieter corner. You're present without being hostage to the past. That presence brings a near physical clarity. Every move feels natural, every line comes out honest. There's a moment of silence between you. It isn't awkward, it breathes. It lets you notice the room, the smell of coffee, the murmur around you. In that quiet, you feel something rare. Peace. Not the absence of emotion, but the certainty that whatever happens next, you're living something real, something that doesn't depend on a screen. That stillness becomes an inner milestone, almost a turning point. As the meeting winds down, you don't rush to conclusions. No labels, no promises. You want to let time do its work, to let the next step appear when it's ready. It's a new way to live a beginning, present without urgency, hopeful without haste. That stance, won through learning, gives you a quiet strength. You see that the most valuable thing isn't an immediate result, but the freedom to live this process without losing yourself. On the way home, the quiet wraps around you like a blanket. Every step echoes what you lived hours before. You replay the conversation, gestures, looks, trying to read signs, but you notice that desperate anxiety for instant answers is gone. What's left is a calm curiosity, almost contemplative, a sense that you experienced something genuine, at your own pace. It's new, almost liberating, like breathing lighter air. At home, as you drop your keys on the table, you feel a subtle shift inside. Not just the memory of a pleasant meeting, but the sense that you crossed an emotional border. After 40, opening up again isn't just a gesture, it's an act of courage. And that act begins to reshape how you see yourself. You're no longer someone waiting to be chosen. You're someone who can choose, someone who decides where to invest emotion and energy. That posture makes you feel more whole, more self-possessed. While you reflect, you notice something else has changed, your relationship with the past. The painful memories, the stacked disappointments, the broken promises seem less vivid. They haven't disappeared, but they no longer control the present. That freedom didn't come from someone else, but from the moment you decided to try again. That decision isn't small, it's a turning point. In the days that follow, you carry this new energy beyond the app. Your posture shifts at work, with friends in the mirror. A quiet confidence grows, not from the promise of a relationship, but from the courage to put yourself out there, to face the risk of the unknown. That confidence is what steadies your gaze on the future. You're more open to new conversations, new places, new experiences. Life, which felt squeezed into an app, widens into broader colors again. Little by little, you're no longer tied to your phone like before. If each notification used to trigger a small explosion of anxiety, now it's just a soft sound announcing possibilities. You read messages without rush, reply in your time, and allow space for the other person too. That stance changes everything. It turns waiting into coexistence, neediness into presence. When the phone vibrates with a new message from him, you realize you're not waiting like before. You're receiving, like someone who makes room. It's no longer a race. It's a path built step by step. The shift changes everything, because now you see that the real value isn't only in what might grow between you, but in what has already grown inside you. The awareness that it's still possible to begin again, to give, to walk toward a new horizon. As weeks go by, he becomes a real presence in your life. It's no longer about isolated messages and occasional dates, but a steady, discreet, significant thread. Night calls, morning texts, small gestures that weave an invisible line through your days. That line doesn't suffocate or press. It simply exists, a quiet reminder that something is being built with care. That constancy anchors you, little by little, returning a sense of emotional safety. After 40, you see that relationships aren't built on sudden intensity, but on consistency. Small acts gain weight, remembering a detail you shared, asking about something important, respecting your time without pressure. That coherence, almost banal to those who've never been disappointed, is exactly what grows your trust. Confidence doesn't grow in leaps. It builds in layers, solid and discreet. Your own stance is different too. There's no need to answer immediately, to prove you're available, to mold yourself to someone else's expectations. You let yourself be busy, live your routine, leave room for silence. Silence doesn't mean distance. It means maturity. After so many tries and lessons, you can be intense without being impulsive, present without being anxious. That inner freedom is one of this phase's greatest gifts. What's taking shape is less about spectacle and more about construction, the sum of meetings, conversations, silences, and steady presence. You notice you compare this experience less to the past and bring fewer old ghosts into new moments. You're living now with more clarity and authenticity. Clarity isn't from a trick or a manual. It's from the road you've walked, the scars you've turned into learning. Over time, you see this new story isn't held up by romance alone, but by mutual respect, real curiosity, and the desire to understand each other without hurry. That realization helps you relax, trust more, and consider that maybe you can build something true after so many false starts. The constant tightness in your chest eases. In its place, a gentle presence, a sense of stability you'd almost forgotten. Feeling that quiet expand, you understand that looking for love after 40 isn't only about finding someone. It's about rebuilding yourself as you connect. It's about balancing vulnerability with discernment, surrender with autonomy, hope with clear-eyed truth. At this point in the journey, what sustains you isn't a promise of the future, but the reality of living something that makes sense now, in your own time. That awareness calms you and strengthens you for the chapters to come. As months pass, being with him becomes a smooth routine, almost imperceptible, yet undeniably present. It's no longer newness or nervous expectation, it's presence. You develop quiet codes, inside jokes, small rituals that mark intimacy. These micro-connections create a shared territory, as if a piece of your everyday life had expanded to include someone else. The simple act of him remembering details, citing past conversations, respecting your schedule and space, means more than grand gestures. This phase also brings deeper questions. You ask how this relationship fits the future you want. Not heavy questioning, but the natural reflection of someone who's matured and knows there's no time to invest in what doesn't make sense. After 40, you don't think only about now. You think about how this now projects a tomorrow. That awareness makes you clearer and more discerning. You look at his behavior and your own, asking whether this story helps you grow or holds you back. With that lucidity, you notice that despite growing closeness, there are still layers to explore. Each conversation reveals new facets, histories, traits. Sometimes they draw you nearer. Sometimes they make you step back, stirring old insecurities. But unlike before, you don't get lost in those swings. You can hold your own identity without dissolving into the other. That awareness becomes an inner compass when doubts appear. This balance empowers you. You realize you don't have to choose between being intense and being prudent. You can be both. You can give without abandoning yourself. That discovery transforms how you relate. You stop measuring success by initial intensity and start valuing the quality of time together, the honesty of dialogue, the coherence of gestures. You begin to see that mature love doesn't live on fireworks. It lives on constancy. And constancy is what you were seeking all along, even if you didn't know it. As this phase unfolds, you find a rhythm that fits your life. It's not a fairy tale or a movie story. It's something rarer, a connection built step by step, with patience, respect, and authenticity. That realization returns something essential, the sense that despite the stumbles, you can live a story that makes sense and grows with you. It isn't just relief. It's a quiet victory, proof that your hope never died. With time, you both feel it's right to have deeper talks about what each of you really wants. Not to pressure or rush something that's working, but to acknowledge the path you're building. After 40, there's no room for endless games or vague promises. You need clarity. Clarity isn't cold, it's liberating. It names intentions and creates a safe space for vulnerability. It prevents fantasies from growing in silence and trades anxiety for the quiet of knowing where you stand. In those talks, new nuances emerge about family, lifestyle, core values. Each topic holds up a mirror. What's non-negotiable, what's flexible, what's priority. That self-examination isn't uncomfortable. It gives you a coherence and control that we're missing. It feels like aligning your love life with your real life. And in that process, you see how much you've matured emotionally, how much more conscious your choices have become. You also realize honesty, even when hard, is what strengthens the bond. No masks, no rehearsed speeches. There are pauses, reflections, even heavy silences that must be crossed. Each crossing builds a step. Each step shapes a more solid relationship, even if imperfect. The initial discomfort of touching sensitive topics gives way to a feeling of mutual respect, a shared space for growth and negotiation. Your posture in these talks is different from before. There's no fear of speaking your mind or need to please at any cost. You talk calmly, listen attentively, and negotiate without losing your essence. It doesn't mean lack of emotion. It means emotional maturity. The kind that only comes after years of trying, falling, and rebuilding. Clarity that once felt risky now reveals itself as the fertile ground of real intimacy. As these conversations become natural, you see you're not just trying to work out with someone. You're building something consistent, something that respects your limits and doesn't feed on haste or illusion. That realization brings serenity. It shows that a space for mature love can exist, where two stories meet without erasing each other, creating a third narrative, the one you're writing together at the right pace. That awareness becomes a pillar, holding the relationship steady against outside pressures and old patterns that could sabotage it. As they deepen, you see not only the relationship being built, but a new version of yourself. This version doesn't fear honest answers or feel threatened by silence. It sees silence as a chance to hear, perceive, understand nuance. That kind of listening turns each dialogue into discovery. No winners or losers, just two lives drawing closer. You realize that when you set clear boundaries, you don't lose charm or affection. You gain respect. That discovery brings an inner security that goes beyond this relationship. It's as if every frank conversation reaffirmed your right to exist whole, with desires, fears, values, and plans. That quiet reaffirmation sustains your presence. Over time, the topics deepen naturally: what you hope for in the coming years, losses and gains, how each of you faces aging, how you both imagine love long-term. Not to test the other, but to map the real ground you share. In doing that, a different bond is born, one made not just of attraction, but of a shared view. You notice a shift in the emotional climate too. The anxiety of losing the other gives way to the desire to understand them. It's subtle, but powerful, slowing you down in the best way, helping you observe carefully and respond with maturity. That calm frees you to share your vulnerabilities without fear, and to hear his without rushing to fix them. And as all this happens, you see clearly that you're not just in a relationship. You're practicing a more lucid way of relating, one that pairs tenderness with clarity, desire with patience, surrender with autonomy. It transforms what could have been just another romance into a space for mutual growth. Proof that even after 40, it's possible to reinvent love without shortcuts, without hurry, without losing your essence. Time passes and the relationship takes clearer shape. It's no longer only a potential, it's something tangible, made of habits, affinities, and conscious choices. This new stage brings a different challenge: sustaining the initial spark without losing spontaneity. It isn't about the anxious chase anymore. It's about authentic maintenance. After 40, you know there's no true love without a commitment to reality. That awareness becomes the relationship's quiet foundation. Everyday life tests what you've built: delays, disagreements, small frustrations, routine adjustments. In those moments, you see that maturity doesn't mean the absence of conflict, but the ability to handle it without destroying what exists. Differences appear, but don't become battles. They become conversations, compromises, fine-tuning. It sounds simple, but it's what separates sustainable relationships from passing ones. Instead of dodging conflict, you learn to navigate it with respect and calm. You also notice how your own behavior has changed. Before, any disagreement set off alarms. Now, you breathe, observe, choose your reactions. You understand that healthy love is made of two whole people, not two halves seeking rescue. That awareness brings balance, and balance gives the bond room to grow safely. You discover you don't need to control everything for things to work, because trust isn't control, it's choice. You realize you're living something rare, a story that doesn't need grand gestures or empty promises to stay alive. It feeds on daily life, mutual respect, attention to detail. There's no fear of showing vulnerability, no shame in admitting limits. Challenges remain, but you face them differently. Each difficulty becomes a chance to strengthen the partnership. Watching this unfold, you understand that this stage is more than making a relationship official. It's the consolidation of a new identity in you, one that doesn't wait for validation, but recognizes and respects itself, offering that whole self to the other. That's powerful because it shows that even after 40, it's possible not only to find love, but to evolve emotionally, redefining what it means to be with someone. And for the first time, that idea doesn't feel like a distant ideal. It feels like a reality built with patience, clarity, and courage. As life naturally intertwines more and more, you're no longer just swapping messages and planning occasional dates. You're sharing practical decisions, commitments, different habits and styles that need harmony. This is the stage where love proves itself, in living together, not in the intensity of beginnings, but in the steadiness of days. You notice that what once felt like threats, disagreements, now look like chances to learn. You create a safe space to talk without fear, without attack, without manipulation. That new way of handling conflict didn't appear by chance. It came from your growth. After 40, patience is a virtue, but not passivity. It's the ability to negotiate firmly without losing respect. Daily life turns into a chain of micro-decisions: who cooks, who drives, how to divide time among family, work, and rest. Before, these could spark frustration. Now, they're rehearsal for partnership. Each micro-decision confirms or reframes your roles, proof that you're not two teenagers improvising romance, but two adults building a shared project. Your autonomy hasn't shrunk, it's grown. The difference is that now it lives alongside reciprocity. That balance between me and us makes the relationship breathable and durable. You keep your space, friends, routines, while sharing a private core with him. This frees you from the myth of total fusion and places the bond on a more realistic, sustainable level. Co-living also brings unexpected tenderness, small daily gestures, a coffee made without asking, a message of encouragement before a tough meeting, a comfortable end-of-day silence. Signs of an intimacy that doesn't need spectacle to exist. You begin to understand that after 40, love isn't sustained by adrenaline or grand gestures, but by the delicacy of details. And watching this new routine, you see this is the point where hope meets practice. There's no over-glamour, no movie script, but there's something more valuable: consistency. Consistency strengthens not only the relationship, but you. It proves that despite all the tries, you can build a story without giving up who you are. Maturity doesn't mean losing the capacity to love. It means learning to love more broadly, more deeply, more truly. As time goes on, you reach a turning point. The relationship is no longer a bet or a promise. It's a reality breathing in rhythm with your life. There's no sense of living something provisional. There's stability, presence, a routine that holds without suffocating. After 40, you realize this is more precious than any idealized romance. It's where emotional maturity meets real affection, where you don't need to invent a plot to justify staying. You look back and recognize the path, the failed attempts, dismissed profiles, uncertain dates, hollow conversations. They all left marks and lessons. Each became a step toward here. What once felt like where now reveals itself as preparation. You wouldn't have the clarity, patience, or strength to live this moment if you hadn't walked through each previous stage. That retrospective doesn't stir regret. It stirs gratitude for the learning. The relationship you live now isn't perfect, but it's alive. It has ups and downs, silent days, moments of doubt, but it has what matters: respect, consistency, care, and room to grow. You've learned to communicate without masks, to handle differences without dramatics, to value everyday gestures over empty promises. That turns the bond into a kind of safe harbor, where you arrive whole and leave stronger. Safe harbor isn't a cage, it's shared freedom. Seeing this, you understand the journey was never only about finding someone. It was about rebuilding yourself so you'd be ready when someone arrived. It was about learning to love yourself more maturely, more deeply, so you could share that love. That awareness brings a quiet peace, proof that nothing was in vain. Every swipe, every message, every uncertain date was part of the path that led you here. With each memory revisited, you confirm you didn't give up on yourself, and that made all the difference. Living this present, you feel a new strength. It doesn't depend on the other to exist, but it's nourished by the daily choice to be together. You see you're not just in a relationship, you're in a new phase of your life, more conscious, clearer, more connected to what matters. That perception doesn't end the story. On the contrary, it opens space for it to grow with firm roots and light wings, showing that even after 40, love can be reinvented with depth and truth. And you finally see. The real happy ending isn't a finish line. It's a state of presence built day by day, choice by choice, gesture by gesture. Time moves on, and the relationship stops being an expectation and becomes a daily choice. It's no longer a testing ground. It's a lived space where two people walk side by side without rushing toward an idealized destination. After 40, that realization is liberating. Love isn't a sudden event, but an ongoing practice of presence and care. You look back with almost surgical clarity. Every swipe, every cut-off conversation, every disappointing date became learning. Those experiences were stones on the road that, instead of tripping you, paved the way to where you stand now. You see the effort, the attempts, even the exhaustion, all played a crucial role in shaping the mature, lucid, confident person you've become. What you have now isn't perfect, but it's real. It includes surprises, disagreements, routine adjustments, and quiet phases. But it's precisely in the everyday that trust is built. Small gestures, the look that recognizes you, the unexpected message, the genuine listening, consolidate a connection that doesn't need masks or empty promises to stay alive. The everyday becomes a safe place, never static, where growth continues for both of you. This stage also redefines your idea of love. You understand it's not there to fill emptiness, but to expand horizons. It's not about losing autonomy, but about sharing life. Sharing doesn't mean giving yourself up. It means integrating parts. That integration brings a serenity you'd never felt before. You feel there's room now for love and individuality to coexist without conflict. Day by day, you notice the force sustaining the relationship doesn't come only from him. It comes from your own decision to show up whole. Mature love is that, not needing another to exist, but choosing to be together to grow. That choice, made again and again, becomes the truest proof of commitment and freedom. Living this, you realize the happy ending isn't a period. It's a practice, a daily presence that builds and rebuilds the bond. In the end, that's the greatest lesson of the journey. That even after 40, it's possible not only to find love, but to reinvent it in deeper, broader, more conscious forms. You face a future with no guarantees, but with a new clarity. You know who you are, what you want, and what you deserve. That clarity is this story's true gift, more valuable than any promise of forever. It places you where love isn't a desperate bet, but a natural extension of your own evolution,